Okay, Nick, can you let people in?
Good morning. My name is Reverend Dr. Sandra Fees. I use she, her pronouns. Our chalice reading this morning is The Chalice of Our Being by Richard Gilbert. He uses the words of Dag Hammarskjöld as a starting point. This is the time to light your chalice at home for those who are joining online as we light our chalice here in our sanctuary. Each morning we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and give back. Each morning we hold out our chalice of being to be filled with the graces of life that abound, air to breathe, food to eat, companions to love, beauty to behold, art to cherish, causes to serve. We carry the chalice with us as we go, either meandering aimlessly or with destination in our eye. We share its abundance if we have any sense, reminding others as we remind ourselves of the contents of the chalice we don't deserve. Water from living streams fills it if only we hold it out faithfully. We give back, if we can, something of ourselves, some love, some beauty, some grace, some gift. We give back in gratitude, if we can, something like what is poured into our chalice of being for those who abide with us and will follow us. Each morning, we hold out the chalice of our being. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berks County. It is good to be together this morning and to be continuing to welcome back more members and friends and guests into our sanctuary while others join us online. Wherever you are this morning, wherever you are joining from, you're welcome here. We come to this time of worship to make meaning of our lives and to make meaning of the world around us, to connect to the spirit of life and to one another. We come to give thanks. As we begin our time of worship, we honor the Lenni Lenape people upon whose ancestral land the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berks County is located. As we are gathering, I want to extend a special welcome to any newcomers with us this morning. Those joining online, please take a moment to write your name in the chat box and let us know where you are joining from, and if you can, on whose ancestral lands. You'll find the Unitarian Universalist Church's web address in the chat box, and you'll also find a link to today's order of service. You can sign up on the web page for our weekly e-newsletter. Want to remind you that at the conclusion of the service, we will have time for a smaller group sharing, and there will also be a community conversation at noon. This is being led by Nick Pomo and Nadine Smetweiss of our Ministry and Operations team, and it's a time to share how things have been going for you during the pandemic and how they're going for you now. This is for those online and on site. I also want to let you know, if you're checking out your newsletter, you know that on Wednesday at 7, we'll be having the annual Interfaith Thanksgiving service. That's going to be hosted by the Church of the Brethren on State Hill Road, and you can find the details in the newsletter or on the Facebook page. And with that, let's take a moment to scan the gallery, to scan the sanctuary, to see one another and offer each other a wave, a namaste, a smile. So our service this morning is a time of reflection on gratitude and reciprocity. And there's someone I want to thank this morning, And that someone is not right here in the sanctuary, and so I hope that you will reach out and thank him later on. I believe that he and his family are still outside doing some work, and that person is John Noonan. And John completed the first part of a Scouting Eagle project at the church. And what he did, oh, you're seeing the pictures now, he chose to make improvements to our church building. Last Sunday, he led a team of volunteers to stain the deck and fence at the ramp entrance and the deck walkway in the alley between the church and the Chalice House. He's also going to be organizing a painting event for the wainscoting in the Gerber Room. And he organized a fall garden cleanup, which is, I believe, what's ongoing right at this moment on 4th Street. And so lots of gratitude to John and for choosing to make the church the recipient of his project and for the work that he's done as a scout. So with that, let us begin our reflection in song. And I also want to let you know that our youth are meeting. A couple of you are here in the sanctuary, but the youth are having a program today in the building with their youth leaders, and it's really wonderful that they're here this morning. So, maybe Carla.
Yes. So if you are on site this morning, I invite you to listen deeply and sing inside your body, maybe even sing by exploring the room or moving about as we call us into song this morning. And if you are online, the lyrics will be in the chat box for you. This is number 387, The Earth, Water, Fire, and Air. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, the water, the fire, the air, the earth, the water, the fire, the air, return, 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 return. Thank you, Carla.
In traditional Haudenosaunee culture, there's something called the Thanksgiving Address, and it's spoken at the opening and closing of important celebrations, of important ceremonies and meetings and gatherings. And it acknowledges the Haudenosaunee people, the earth, the animals, the Creator. And today, we share an excerpt of this address, and I invite you to listen to this address as a meditation, as a prayer, as a deep expression of connection and gratitude. For the people, today we have gathered and we see that the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now we bring our minds together as one as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now our minds are one.
For the Earth Mother, We are all thankful to our mother, the earth, for she gives us all that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk upon her. It gives us joy that she continues to care for us as she has from the beginning of time. To our mother, we send greetings and thanks. Now our minds are one.
For the waters, we give thanks to all the waters of the world for quenching our thirst and providing us with strength. Water is life. We know its power in many forms: waterfalls and rain, mists and streams, rivers and oceans. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to the Spirit of water.
Now our minds are one. For the food plants, with one mind, we turn to honor and thank all the food plants we harvest from the garden. Since the beginning of time, the grains, vegetables, beans, and berries have helped the people survive. Many other living things draw strength from them too. We gather all the plant foods together as one and send them a greeting of thanks. Now our minds are one.
For the animals, we gather our minds together to send greetings and thanks to all the animal life in the world. They have many things to teach us as people. We are honored by them when they give up their lives so we may use their bodies as food for our people. We see them near our homes and in the deep forests. We are glad they are still here, and we hope that it will always be so.
Now our minds are one. For the enlightened teachers, we gather our minds to greet and thank the enlightened teachers who have come to help throughout the ages. When we forgot how to live in harmony, they remind us of the way we were instructed to live as people. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to these caring teachers. Now our minds are one.
For the Creator, now we turn our thoughts to the Creator or Great Spirit and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. Everything we need to live a good life is here on this Mother Earth. For all the love that is still around us, we gather our minds together as one and send our choicest words of greetings and thanks to the Creator. Now
our minds are one.
May it be so. Now our minds are one. What shall we do in response to that oneness? What shall we do in response to everything that has been given to us? Will we meander aimlessly or set a course with a destination in mind? Will we share what we can, holding out something of ourselves, some gifts, some beauty, offering ourselves faithfully? Dag Hammarskjöld says that each morning we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and give back. The Thanksgiving address says, "We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things." In her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, Robin Wall Kimmerer looks to indigenous wisdom, science, and plants for a way to bring our minds together as one and to give thanks. This morning's service and this sermon are inspired by her work and her book, which I recommend very highly to you. Kimmerer is a member of the citizen Potawatomi Nation. And according to Kimmerer, reciprocity and interconnectedness with nature are pathways to holding out the chalice of our being, to receiving and to giving back, to living in balance and in harmony. She describes this as the honorable harvest. She writes of the honorable harvest, the honorable harvest asks us to give back in reciprocity for what we have been given. Reciprocity helps resolve the moral tension of taking a life by giving in return something of value that sustains the ones who sustain us. One of our responsibilities as human people, she says, is to find ways to enter into reciprocity with the more than human world. Our institutions and our economy are not based on the honorable harvest. As we know too well, they are based on taking more and more from the earth, on consumption and exploitation without replenishing what's been taken. In Western tradition, we have a history of hierarchical thinking. Human beings are considered to be on top. The rest of creation is further down the chain, further down the food chain, we often say, deemed lesser. Creation, the animals, the plants, the earth are seen as here for our use and our consumption. And too often, that hierarchical thinking has extended to humanity as well. Some cultures and some people are deemed more worthy and others less worthy, some more human than others. This concept of the honorable harvest, by contrast, seems idyllic, doesn't it? Living by this principle, Kimmerer says, a developer ready to build a new shopping mall on a meadow would first ask permission of the birds and the plants, and then would need to abide by the answer that's given. It's almost incomprehensible to imagine such a thing, isn't it? Have you ever heard of a developer asking the birds and the plants what they think? And even if they did, then what? Can you imagine the birds and the plants saying, yeah, this is a great idea? I can't. To come into balance with the earth would mean having reverence for the land. It would mean taking care of the land. We would cherish the land as sacred and care for special places. Over the past few years, more than ever, people have been flocking to the outdoors to take in natural beauty, to state and national parks, and local parks as well. And it's certainly wonderful to see a renewal of appreciation for nature. Yet sadly, there's a bucket list mentality that drives and accompanies some of this behavior. I'm sure some of you have heard it and seen it. In an article entitled, Bucket lists are a good way to ruin the experience of nature. Tom Winterbottom, writer and researcher, says this. He says, there are ways of consuming the outdoors, of doing nature at a bustling pace that suggests these ways are part of the problem rather than its solution. While writing the article, Winterbottom was touring the United States national parks. He noted that there are now 1-star reviews of these parks on Yelp. One reviewer, it's really shocking. One reviewer complained of Yosemite, that it was a terrible experience. We drove into the park and were unable to find parking anywhere. The reviewer added, how about you cut down the surrounding burned trees and make another parking lot or 5? Another reviewer said of Crater Lake, which is in southern Oregon. Anybody been there? Okay, at least a couple of people. So this will mean something to you, if you've been there especially. This is what the reviewer said. Snore. Once you've taken a good long look at the lake, 10 minutes, and snapped a few photos, you're done. Crater Lake exists because a huge volcanic eruption 7,700 years ago blew the top off the mountain and created the lake. That's hardly a snore, is it? Unfortunately, here in Berks County, we don't have to go far to see the consumerist impact on the natural world. Last weekend, Chris and I drove up to the pagoda, which is such a beautiful place. I'm sure many or most of you have been there. It's just a really gorgeous view of the city, and just incredible to see the change of season, to experience the expanse of sky. And from above, standing at one of the railings, we could see the litter scattered below. And then we walked around the bottom and into the woods, and as we were entering that trail, we could see the remnants of broken glass, probably from broken beer bottles. The space where the pagoda was built, that was once home to indigenous people, as are these lands where we are right now. The natives were driven out by developers, by the desire to build a resort, an unsuccessful resort. And now the pagoda is a popular tourist destination and a hangout. The garbage and the broken glass are signs of a lack of reverence, a lack of deep gratitude for the earth, for the beauty. So what can we do? What do we do? The tension we all live with, in one way or another, is how to consume the earth's bounty and beauty justly, fairly, honorably, reverently. Our challenge is to imagine how we might live more gently, walk more lightly on the earth. This is difficult in a culture that has veered so far from its connection to the land, from an ethic of reciprocity, from a spirit of deep and abiding gratitude, and from using only what's needed. Agreements at every level are needed, globally, institutionally, congregationally, in families, by individuals. We need agreements like the COP26 this past week at the 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference, known as COP26, a climate deal was reached. And among the agreements was the Glasgow Climate Pact. And the pact states, among other things, that carbon emissions must fall by 45% by 2030. Some of the specific agreements include a phase down of unabated coal power and a call for nations to return in 2022 with more ambitious goals to curb emissions. More than 100 nations pledged to cut 30% of methane emissions by 2030. More than 130 nations that together have 90% of the world's forests agreed to halve and reverse deforestation by 2030. The pact is one step, just one step, among many, toward an honorable harvest. Our global and our national and our local communities must be committed to climate justice. We need actions that alter the course of our human devastation of the earth. Those actions, though, and this is the part I really want us to listen to this morning. I really invite you to hear this part of what I want to share with you. These actions, our course forward, our course as religious people and also in our world, but our course as religious people needs to be rooted in theology. We need to get rooted in our hearts, in our minds, in our spirits, in a theological framework that can be transformative. We need to learn from indigenous wisdom. We need to learn from science. We need to learn from plants and animals. We need stories. We need stories that remind people what it means to celebrate the earth. We need to retell creation stories that teach people of our kinship with creation, stories rooted in interconnection, not hierarchy. Artwork and creativity are needed to foster reciprocal relationships between humans and plants and animals. Financial resources must be focused on renewal. Poems and dance and music and everyday practices of reverence can support the idea of an honorable harvest, a harvest that takes only what's needed, a harvest of gratitude. This Thanksgiving, I invite you to slow down. For some, this is a very busy time with people and activities and feasting. But be sure to take some unhurried time. Find some unhurried time to hold out the chalice of your being so that you can be filled with the graces that abound, the graces of life, the air, the food, the companions, the beauty, the art, the causes. Hold out the chalice of your being so that you can experience a deep gratitude and give back something of yourself, some love, some beauty, some gifts. Take some unhurried time to celebrate the earth and to reflect anew on your relationship with all of creation. Learn a new story of connection. Listen to the plants. Listen to the animals. Thank the earth. Offer your unhurried gratitude to Mother Earth, to moon, to water, to plants, to the Creator, to teachers. Remember your connection. And then, tell about it. Share the stories. Share the wisdom. Teach others. I wish you all a very reverent and honorable harvest. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be. And it is quite fitting this morning that as part of our service today, we will be taking our offering, gathering our financial resources to care for the earth. This morning's offering is our monthly Share the Plate. It will specifically benefit Berks Nature. Some of you will remember Berks Nature as formerly the Berks County Conservancy. I want to tell you just a little bit about Berks Nature, and I got this from their website. It's just a little bit, and you can learn more by going to their website. The vision of Berks Nature is to be a cornerstone of excellence in the stewardship of the environment. They transform people's relationship with nature through environmental leadership, direct action, expertise, land use planning, advocacy, research, and education programs. They steward 425 acres of leased land. They own 424 acres of preserves, and they manage nearly 27 miles of trails to maintain a large, healthy, natural environment. Climate change, they say, is at the intersection of all that Berks Nature does as an organization. Berks Nature is committed to mitigating and restoring the effects of human impact on our planet. If you want to contribute this morning, and I hope you will all want to contribute, you may contribute to Berks Nature by writing a check to the church and include Berks Nature on the memo line. Those online may mail their check to the church. Those who are here may also mail a check to the church later today or this coming week. If you're on site, you may also write a check and drop your check in the drop box that you'll find in the Gerber room following the service. As you consider your gift this morning, I invite you now to listen to our offertory music and to reflect on your gift and your relationship to our natural world.
That was a beautiful rendition of that song, Susan. Thank you. I bring to you the story of Sky Woman Falling from Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. She fell, pirouetting on the breeze like a maple seed. A column of light streamed from a hole in the sky world, marking her path. It took her a long time to fall. In fear or maybe hope, she clutched a bundle tightly in her hand. Hurtling downward, she saw only dark water below. But in that emptiness were many eyes gazing up at her. There, they saw a small object. As it grew closer, they could see it was a woman, arms outstretched, long black hair flowing behind as she spiraled toward them. The geese rose together from the water in a wave of goose music. She felt the beat of their wings as they flew beneath to break her fall. Far from the only home she had ever known, she caught her breath at the warm embrace of soft feathers as they carried her downward. And so it began. The geese could not hold the woman above the water much longer, so they called a council to decide what to do. Resting on their wings, she saw them all gather: loons, otters, swans, beavers, fish of all kinds. A great turtle floated in their midst and offered his back for her to rest upon. Gratefully, she stepped from the goose wings onto the dome of the shell. The others understood she needed land for her home and discussed how they might serve her need. The deep divers among them had heard of mud at the bottom of the water and agreed to go find some. Loon dove first, but the distance was too far and he surfaced with nothing. The other animals offered to help, but the depth and darkness were too great. Soon, only little Muskrat was left, the weakest diver of all. He volunteered to go. His small legs flailed as he worked his way downward, and he was gone a very long time. Before long, a stream of bubbles rose with the small, limp body of Muskrat. He had given his life to aid this helpless human. But in his paw, tightly clenched, they saw a handful of mud. Turtle said, "Here, put it on my back and I will hold it." Sky Woman bent and spread the mud across the turtle's shell. Moved by the extraordinary gifts of animals, she sang in thanksgiving and began to dance, her feet caressing the earth. The land grew as she danced her thanks until the whole earth was made. From that mixture of all the animals' gifts, coupled with her gratitude, together they formed what we know today as Turtle Island, our home. Like any good guest, Sky Woman had not come empty-handed either. When she toppled from the hole in Sky World, she had reached out to grab at the tree of life that grew there, and in her grasp were fruits and seeds, and she scattered them and tended them until the world turned from brown to green. Flowers, trees, medicines spread everywhere. And now the animals, too, had plenty to eat, and many came to live with her on Turtle Island.
And one nation living today on Turtle Island is the Wet'suwet'en people. They have been struggling to protect their land in Canada from corporate interests. Their traditional trapping grounds are being razed to the ground so that Coastal GasLink TransCanada can build a pipeline. The Wet'suwet'en Quebec spokesperson Marlene Hale commissioned a song leader and choir director of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, Eleuthera de Conca Leipert, to write a song to thank their allies and for standing by their side. Eleuthera happily shares this song with us today with thanks. What thanks and what gratitude do you dance today?
Before all else, we give a thanks to creation. Before all else, we list our blessings, Lord. Before all else, we rise as many nations. All eyes on what is done, our minds as one. Agradezco a la tierra, al cielo, las hierbas sagradas, al agua fluyendo y clara, las criaturas que vuelan, que nadan, hermanas de la vida, parecidas a nosotros, nos inspiran. ¿Quién puede pararnos si estamos unidos? ¿Y quién puede callar nuestra canción? ¿Y quién puede vivir sin este planeta? Levantamos, somos testigos de la destrucción. Before all else, we give a thanks to creation. Before all else, we list our blessings, Lord. Before all else, we rise as many nations. All eyes on what is done, our minds as one. All eyes on what is done, our minds as one.
Moved by the extraordinary gifts of this earth, of this life, we offer now our prayers. We share our gratitudes for the many joys of our lives, the ways we have been blessed. And we also take time to name and reflect upon the struggles and sadnesses that mark our days. This morning, I invite us to enter this time by acknowledging how far we are from the ideals of our Unitarian Universalist faith and our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. I want to name first that yesterday was the Trans Day of Remembrance. You'll see the rainbow candles on our altar this morning. 2021 marks the deadliest year for transgender and non-binary people. In the United States, more than 45 trans or non-binary people have been murdered. The majority of them were Black and Latina trans women. Our hearts grieve. This week, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, a jury acquitted a young white man of the murders of two people participating in the Black Lives Matter protest that followed the police shooting of Jacob Blake. Our hearts grieve. Friends, what are you carrying in your hearts and your minds this morning? What are you grieving? What are you celebrating? Those who are online with us this morning may share their joys and their sorrows in the chat box, and those who are on site are invited to come forward and place stones in our common bowl in silence for their joys and their sorrows. Let us take time now as we listen to Spirit of Life, to share ourselves in community.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
May our sharing of life's joys and sorrows remind us to hold each other close, to hold one another in care. May we be reminded that we are each part and parcel of this interdependent web of existence of which we are surely a part. May you each know, may we each know that we belong and that we are held in compassion and peace. And as we are closing our time together, I share now more words with you from Robin Kimmerer. The guidelines for the honorable harvest are not written down, she says, or even consistently spoken of as a whole. They are reinforced in small acts of daily life. But if you were to list them, they might look something like this. Know the ways of the ones who take care of you, so that you may take care of them. Introduce yourself. Be accountable as the one who comes asking for life. Ask permission before taking. Abide by the answer. Never take the first. Never take the last. Take only what you need. Take only that which is given. Never take more than half, leave some for others. Harvest in a way to minimize harm. Use it respectfully. Never waste what you have taken. Share. Give thanks for what you have been given. Give a gift in reciprocity for what you have taken. Sustain the ones who sustain you, and the earth will last forever. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be.
Blessed be. Friends on site, friends online, let us rise in body and spirit. And friends on site, listen to, and friends online, sing number 402, From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
I want us to take a moment to honor the beautiful gifts that have been offered here in this space this morning. The gift of story, the gift of song. Thank you. And the gift of your presence, the gift of beauty that this space and your beings offer us. Welcome now. Friends, welcome into our time of fellowship. Let's take a few moments. Those online are going to be invited into breakout groups. Those who are on site may gather in the Gerber room. And please, if you can, return to the sanctuary, return online at noon for some facilitated conversation, some open conversation about how everyone's doing amid pandemic and other events in your lives.